Three. Welcome back. I was going to have a different guest on this week, but sometimes scheduling does not work out. But that's okay, because something happened this week I really want to talk about. I am Grayson Knight, and this is Baseball Podcasts Are Fun. It's no secret that my favorite player is Brett Phillips. I got to meet him in Toronto last month, which was one of my best experiences ever. And until 3 days ago, he was on my favorite team, the Tampa Bay Rays. But then the trade deadline came, and Brett was essentially let go by the Rays. I am sure he was upset since he's actually from Tampa, but him leaving was also a big bummer for all the fans. So today, my dad and I are going to talk about Brett leaving the Rays. Dad, take it away.
So Brett's no longer on the team, buddy. How are you doing?
I'm getting better. It's been a few days, but I think the Orioles is it's not like a team we hate. Like if we went to a team far away, I wouldn't like that. But it's still in the AL East, so which I'm fine with.
Yeah, okay. So he's on the Orioles now. We'll talk about that in a second. So essentially he was let go. He's designated for assignment right before the trade deadline on Monday. Do you know what that means? That designated for assignment?
So it means you're basically you have a few options. You can sign a contract in the minor leagues, or a team could pick you up, like the Orioles, which they did.
Yeah, yeah. A couple things. They say we're cutting you. You're not going to be on the 40-man roster anymore. And then you get put on waivers. And when that happens, depending on where the waiver list is, a team can pick you up if they want to. And if you don't, or you could be traded, I guess. And if no one picks you up on waivers, then you become a free agent, or you have to accept your minor league assignment. He never would have accepted it. He didn't have to because of his service time. But yeah, ultimately he was traded to the Orioles. Do you
Mm-hmm.
know what he was traded for?
Just some cash money or whatever it is.
Yeah, $100,000 is what I read. Um, so I think the Rays continue to pay his contract for the rest of this year, and then the Orioles, I guess, would take it for next year's. I understand. I think he's under contract for two
Mm-hmm.
more seasons, but
It's kind of confusing for me.
well, yeah, I mean that's not what we do, right? We don't know. All right, let me ask you, where were you when you found out that Brett Phillips was no longer a Ray?
I found out at the my training program, um, my strength and conditioning, and then you told me and you filmed me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do you remember what you were feeling when I told you?
I'm kind of sad, to be honest. But I guess it's. I mean, it was ultimately gonna happen. I think.
So it wasn't a. Were you thinking it might happen?
Yeah, I was thinking it might happen because the trade deadline. Maybe they were gonna trade him for someone good. I don't really know, but yeah, I
But
think it was gonna happen.
why do you think like it wasn't unexpected? Like what was it about Brett like this year, or you thought that oh you know what he might get traded?
Well, there were rumors that he was already, and I heard about that. But also, I think last year, and then obviously his game four walk off in the World Series, that was great. That's probably why he stayed on the team because
Right.
no one knew him before that. But he stayed on the team, and then he became my favorite player. I think if he just got maybe cut after that season, no one, I probably would not. He probably wouldn't be my favorite player because I really
Well,
didn't
we'll
know him
talk.
that much.
We'll talk more about that. But what was it about this season that you thought that the Rays might let him go?
He really wasn't having a good season. Last year, I think he had like four walk-offs and like 20 homers. But
He hit three grand slams, I
yeah,
think, in like three
in
weeks.
in like the same month,
And and
two
and
against Garrett Cole, I'm pretty sure.
yeah, oh, at least one. And he also like three grand slams
Mm-hmm.
in like a month, and also had an inside the park homer the
Yes.
same month. But ultimately, I think he had 13 homers after the All Star game last year. Um, but this year, his hitting was not stellar at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you know, his defense ranks like in the top five.
He has like he has like almost 80 runs saved
I don't
already.
know what the numbers are, but I do know that he like is one of the top defenders.
Yeah.
Um, Now, he doesn't play every day, of course,
Yeah.
but when he plays, he makes a difference because he's getting outs, right? And we'll talk about what his value is other than playing, but I guess it didn't matter what was happening out in the field. What mattered probably the most was what was happening at the plate, or I guess what wasn't happening, which was he wasn't hitting, right? So we talked about what he was doing defensively. He was one of the top, but then from an offensive standpoint, his batting average was
147 or something.
147, and he had one of the lowest averages for the number of games he's played. He also he had 85 strikeouts in 184 plate appearances, and I think only 27 hits at the time. So yeah, you're right. It wasn't unexpected that they let him go, except for the fact he means so much to Tampa, right?
Where if he wasn't in Tampa, these shirts would not be made.
Well, no, I don't know about that. So baseball's fun anywhere.
That's true, but
this came out of his.
This is the Tampa Bay Rays throwback one.
Right, but the whole baseball is fun brand that he's cultivated came out of his heroics after the Game 4 walk-off in the 2020 World Series.
What really sucks is that like 3 days before they had the Brett Phillips giveaway.
2 days before they had the Brett Phillips
basketball T-shirt.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was signed.
No, so they gave away the basketball jerseys because of a picture of him when he was 4 or 5 years old. And then the Rays did this amazing giveaway. But then for an hour after that game, which they won, he signed autographs for a whole hour.
Nice.
All right. So what do you think he means for Tampa Bay? We know that he's from the Tampa Bay area. He's from Seminole, which is about 15 minutes from the Trop, where he grew up going and watching the games. What do you think he means for Tampa Bay?
Well, obviously, it probably is his favorite team to play on, too. I mean, it's probably near some family that he loves.
Yeah.
And I think if he wasn't on the Rays, baseball's fun would not be a big thing. I don't really think, because I had never heard about it when he was on the Brewers or the Royals before.
Yeah, but he spit out baseball is fun after that hit in the World Series, and then they kind of ran with it.
Yeah.
But he's electric, right? He's got this great personality. He's got all this energy. For me, they keep saying it's a baseball decision. It's a business decision. For me, baseball is a lot more than that slash line, like how many hits you have, your OPS, your average, all that stuff. What he means, viewing it from as your dad, but also a fan of the Rays, he brought so much energy to the dugout. He brought leadership to the clubhouse. He was like the best teammate, right? No matter what was going on. If he wasn't playing, where was he? He was on the rail cheering people on. A guy hits a home run, what was he doing?
He was outside the dugout screaming and probably doing the airplane.
Yeah, and taking the helmets off, and they were, him and G-Man Choi had like a little dance thing that they would do. But on top of that, do you remember on April 12th? Do you remember what happened April 12th?
Oh, with Chloe
okay,
Grimes.
tell your listeners who Chloe is.
So Chloe Grimes was battling, I'm pretty sure, cancer.
For the second time.
For the second time.
I think she still is.
Really?
Yeah.
And so she went to the Trop. Her favorite player is Brett Phillips. She got to throw out the first pitch to Brett Phillips, not Raymond.
Not Raymond, the mascot. Yeah.
Who is supposed to. Brett Phillips volunteered to be the catcher for Chloe. And then as Chloe is being interviewed by Trisha Whitaker, Brett Phillips hits a home run. And that was probably the most exciting moment for her, because she was being interviewed at that moment.
Yeah. Trisha Whitaker's asking her, about her experience throwing out the first pitch. And Brett was up. He homers in the middle of the interview. And Trisha says, do you know what just happened? And Brett hit not only a home run, he said it was the hardest ball he's ever hit. It hit off the back wall. And, a couple of days later, I think he got the ball getting it stuck in the catwalk. And he brought it to her, signed it a little.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I mean, he's just phenomenal. He's just a great guy. And then, so that was amazing. But he also brought energy when he wasn't, like when the team wasn't doing well. What's another thing Brett was kind of known for when the team was not doing well?
Staying positive.
Of course. But what would happen when there was a blowout?
Um, he would come in the pitch, which is this is my favorite moment. His pitching sign card when he came off the mound and dove for a ball at the Trop in this exact position. I got it signed when I went to Toronto. This is a great card by itself, but getting it signed is amazing. And also, Brett Phillips is a great pitcher.
Well, his ERA right now is like 16.3 or something.
At least he's better than Albert Pujols.
So, but yes, so sometimes baseball can be brutal, right? Like one team will be running away with the game, it'll be lopsided 13-1 or something. So what we've seen more and more lately is position players will come in. Mm-hmm. And Brett Phillips last year he came in, sprinted in from the outfield, right?
There was like a 30-second break, an ad break, because he went so fast. And he didn't even need any warm-ups. And the first pitch was 94.
94. And then I think they told him,
stop.
Yeah, no more.
And then he cut it down in half, 47.
Yeah.
Math right there.
And then this year, I think he's pitched 3, maybe 4 times. He actually
Oakland.
Oakland was when he slid.
Yeah, Oakland.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's just like the type of guy that
he pitched the game before we went.
In Toronto. Yeah, we'll talk about Toronto. Okay, so we talked about Chloe, of course, but do you know about some other charity work that he is involved with in Tampa? Because I want to talk about it real quick.
No, I do not.
So there's a thing called the Children's Dream Fund, and you've heard of Make-A-Wish, right? The Make-A-Wish Foundation. Mm-hmm. So the Children's Dream Fund, it's like that as well. They help, and they've been around since like 1981 on the west coast of Florida. They help kids that are struggling with different types of ailments or health issues, who have dreams of meeting heroes of theirs or going to on trips or whatever. And Brett had partnered with the Children's Dream Fund. I think that might be how they met Chloe to begin with, and I could be wrong, and I apologize.
Is she part of the Children's Dream Fund?
I think that she is, because not long after the game in which she threw out the pitch and Brett hits that home run, Brett and his wife and a bunch of kids and volunteers from the Children's Dream Fund, they all went to like Busch Gardens and hung out for the day. But, this is something he went, I think they had like a 12-game road trip earlier in the season, and no days off. He gets 1 day off, and then he goes and he spends it with the kids from the Children's Dream Fund at Busch Gardens. Instead of going to the beach or just lounging by the pool, he's out there volunteering his time. And that's one of the reasons why he's just a top class act. Mm-hmm. So when he was let go from the Rays the other day, do you know what he did the very next day?
No. When he was in the Orioles?
So yeah, so I think that was Sunday night. Monday, we find out that he had been cut or whatever. He went to Chloe's school, surprised her with her very own baseball glove that he and her they had designed the glove together. Aww. So he's just been let go from his hometown team, his favorite organization, his dream club they always want to play for. His heart's probably broken, and he goes and he spends his time with Chloe and gives her a glove that they helped design together.
I'm guessing it's signed.
I don't know if it's signed, but
why wouldn't it be? They made it together, probably.
Yeah, I'm sure he did, or maybe it was like monogram while it was being made. Mm-hmm. That's the type of guy that Brett Phillips is. Just kind of goes out of his way to think about others in a time when it might be one of the darkest times for him. But he bounces back pretty quickly and he gets picked up with the Orioles. I want to ask you now. So I think we've talked about enough. Like, what does Brett mean to Tampa Bay? What did he mean to the Rays? Do you remember like kind of what your first interaction with him was? Like how his first thing like towards you was?
When I met him in person?
No, I think before that. But solidified, okay, this guy's my favorite.
I don't know. I mean, wait, like
what happened last year? Do you remember last fall? Maybe when you turned 12?
So Brett Phillips, when I turned 12, like almost a year ago, like
yeah, almost a year ago.
In a month it'll be a year. Uh, um, so he did a cameo, which is like an app where people can like do videos about you. Is he did a cameo and for my birthday, and it was amazing. And
Where
um,
was he?
he was at Boston in Fenway Park,
Yep.
which was another great thing because had I have been to Fenway
Yeah.
then?
Yep.
Yes, I had. Uh, it was just great. He congratulated me on my birthday. This was before my podcast, so he didn't say anything about my podcast.
Right.
But he just said, Grayson, I know who you are. Have a great birthday. Hopefully, I get to see you soon.
Right. So then you start your podcast. And I know you've said this before. Why is your podcast called Baseball Podcasts Are Fun?
Because baseball is fun. Baseball is fun. And I couldn't do baseball is fun because for copyright reasons, and I just didn't want to like.
Right, but you had to do you had to pick a school project,
Yeah.
right?
So I did baseball podcasts are fun. It's basically the same thing, except it's podcast related,
Right.
which is cool.
But baseball is fun, and you've had a great time. You've gotten to meet, speak to a number of professional players.
Yeah.
So what was your next interaction with Brett?
Probably the Dovetail Bats interview.
Okay, so what happened there?
So I'm sure those of you watching have probably seen it, but Brett Phillips comes on my Dovetail Bats interview
because he uses Dovetail Bats, right?
And he was staying with the owner of Dovetail Bats for spring training.
Okay, so what happened? Because I wasn't around, so what happened at that moment?
He comes in, and I start like screaming and crying. Dad hears me, comes down, doesn't get in frame. He knows what it is. He doesn't even have to look. And surprisingly, I don't say the name, which sucks because people on Spotify don't even know who it is until later. But they probably didn't.
That's part of your growth as a broadcaster.
Yeah.
You have to paint pictures for people, right? So I came down. You're crying, and Brett couldn't have been more cordial with you. He was excited to see how excited you were.
Yep.
And he invites you, hey, I want to, let's meet. And he said, what, he'll come on sometime, right? And so we were going to Cooperstown, right? We knew that you had a tournament in Cooperstown this year in July. And, we were going to take some time to drive and everything. And we were like, oh, let's see if the Blue Jays are home, because I had never been to Rogers Center. I'd been to 35 ballparks, and I hadn't been to Rogers Center.
And obviously, because our luck is really good when it comes to where we're going, it's obviously with the Rays.
Yeah, that was insane.
Minnesota.
So we drove up. We went to because we were at our one road trip. We went to the Minnesota Twins. Yeah,
Twins, and 18 inning game. Obviously the
there. So what? We drove up to Toronto.
Yeah, first we went to Pittsburgh, which is great.
We went to PNC Park, which is pretty awesome. I've been there before, but you guys have never been.
Great ball field.
And
there were like 6 home runs that game.
Three
by the same player.
What?
And so we went to Pittsburgh. Then the next day we went to Canada, stayed in Canada.
Brett pitched that night. We didn't go to that game. All right, so then we're at the game, right? We go to the game. Oh, before the game, we saw a bunch of the Rays walking past us and shaking hands with them and everything.
Shane McClanahan, Vidal Brujan,
Kluber, Rosarena, Ji-Man Choi.
Who we gave a shirt to.
Yep.
Wander Franco.
Right, and then we go to the game. We see former guest Colin Poche, who was one of your first guests on the show.
And then now future guest, Brett Phillips.
And then, okay, so what happens? Tell us what happened with Brett. Like, he comes out.
So he wasn't playing that game. And so they told me he was eating. So we gave Colin the shirt and like some souvenirs for Brett. And he gives them to Brett. And well, now I know why he took so long, because when he came out, he was wearing my shirt.
Your podcast shirt.
He was probably changing. And he didn't even like do anything with the other like people trying to get signatures or whatever.
Autographs. He came right to you, right? What did he say as soon as he saw you?
Is this you? Obviously I don't have my shirt on, but like, is this you? Because like me.
Right.
Shirt.
And he came up, he shook your mom's hand, your sister's hand, my hand, and signed a bunch of stuff. He signed your the baseball card.
He signed my phone, but the signature is not here anymore.
Yeah, Grayson's got that phone case that has a couple Brett Phillips things on it for those of you who are listening. And then what was weird is like he's like, hey, there's a lot of people around, right? And what did he do? He's like, come down here, come down around. And what happened?
He picks me up and lifts me onto the field.
He physically picked you up.
Yeah, and I get a few pictures with him.
All right, so what was it like? Because I think we may have talked about this before. I got to meet my baseball hero and speak to it was Cal Ripken Jr. and I got to speak one-on-one with him for about 20 minutes once. And I know what that means to me. For you, can you tell us what was that like having, obviously talked to Brett before, but getting to stand toe-to-toe with your hero on a baseball field in front of thousands of people, just you guys having your moment. What was that like?
It was incredible. And obviously the people are probably watching me. And after I walked up, people were like chilling, like, "Let's go! You're awesome, man."
Well, I think they were cheering. I think it was a really sweet moment between you guys. Like you're staring at, like you're not looking at your feet. You guys are actually having a conversation, looking at each other. I don't want to get into whatever you guys are talking about. That's between you and him. But while you were there, while you were having that moment, did you feel like this was everything that you had hoped for?
Yeah.
Was it better than that, or?
Well, I think I could have maybe talked to him a little longer. We waited for a little bit, which sucks because the game was almost starting, so we had to go back up to our seats. But I think a longer conversation between the whole family would have been nice. But yeah.
No, I
think it was great.
I think it was perfect, and we know we're pretty sure he's going to come on the show at some point, and you guys can talk longer for sure. But as a dad, watching you get to be on the field with your favorite player, that was pretty special for me, and I know Mom feels the same way. All right, so now let's talk. He's on the Orioles.
Yep, he's on the Orioles now.
Hopefully, baseball is fun. They'll be putting out some orange and black. Now it just so happens that I do enjoy the Orioles. I've always liked the Orioles. My undergrad was in the DC area. Camden Yards is a beautiful ballpark. Probably the ballpark that's responsible for like that boom of like retro type ballparks, Petco and Coors Field and PNC Park. 92, they make Camden Yards. So now he gets to play, still not an everyday role, but he gets to bring his excitement and his energy.
At least he gets to still play at the Trop every once in a while.
And so let's talk about that. Next week.
He's playing at the Trop?
Next week, the Orioles are back playing our Rays.
Nice.
So how is that going to go for you? What are you cheering for him? Are you cheering for the Orioles to beat the Rays because
I hope he gets playing time. That's all I want, for him to get playing time.
Yeah.
Because if he just sits the whole
series, I'm sure he's going to play. I'm pretty sure he's going to play.
They'll probably have like a special Brett Phillips comeback thing or something.
So for me, I think, of course, I want the Rays to win, but I would love it if Brett, gets like 6 hits in the series.
Yeah.
I hope that's what happens. Because
I hope he even gets 6 at bats.
I hope so too. I've been a fan of baseball for a long time, and I've had a lot of players that I've really admired, and players that have played on teams that I've supported, and they get traded away, and it's always kind of hard.
That's what we did with the Freddie Freeman with Emily.
Sure. So I just know that there's a lot of like mixed emotions between the Rays fans, how they feel towards the organization. I think this was a bad move. I know it was expected, and I from a baseball standpoint, I get it, but I think it was a bad move by the Rays to do it. I don't think they needed to. I think there were a couple other players they could have sent down or cut instead of Brett, because they don't have the ties to the city of Tampa that Brett does, and they don't mean as much to the team as Brett does. But I guess when you're hitting better than 147, that kind of saves you. So I'm still going to support him, and I know you are, because this is a guy that does it the right way.
Yes, definitely.
How has Brett inspired you as a baseball player?
Well, probably the attitude and probably the exciteness, because like uh, I don't know how to say this, but it's just he's a great person and he's very electric and very upbeat, even when he's not playing or when he's pitching or like when he's down like 10 runs. He's still having fun. He's still pitching weird. He's still having fun doing whatever. He's always in center field. He always catches the ball and throws it the same way, which I love.
He had earlier this season. He in one game he had two Sports Center top 10 plays in
Yeah,
the
he had
same game.
the diving, and the
One,
pitching, and then he had like a sliding catch.
yeah, and it's his excitement.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully he'll be a hopefully he will be a future
Mm-hmm.
guest. Great, buddy.
What's I think if let's say the Orioles don't make it to the playoffs, maybe because that'll probably be if they don't, that's probably going to be early October,
Yeah.
and that's when I have my 1 year anniversary. So maybe for my 1 year anniversary, we could get Brett Phillips. That would be great.
Okay. Obviously, I
Mm-hmm.
can't control that.
Yeah.
Neither can you.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that as soon as I was done playing, a 5 month baseball season, I'd probably get on a plane and go to the Bahamas or something. But
Mm-hmm.
maybe he wants to talk to a 13-year-old kid at that time. So maybe we get him, maybe not. But speaking of our next guest, do you have any idea who we're going to speak to next?
It's kind of a mystery. I don't want to tell them.
Okay. You know what? I think what we need to do is stop telling people who, because sometimes our guests might change
I have an idea. How about we lie about our next guest?
Our next guest
our next guest is my dog.
Which one?
Doc.
What are our dogs' names?
Doc Brown and Marty McFly.
Okay.
We will interview Doc Brown next week, Saturday.
Sure.
At 13 p.m. Eastern, because dogs have an extra hour, if you didn't know.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All
Doc
right.
will actually be turning 1,200 that day. So please stay tuned for our next video. This has been a great episode. Don't forget to follow us at Baseball Podcasts Are Fun on Instagram and check us out at YouTube and Spotify. Thank you for listening. Don't forget, this was Baseball Podcasts Are Fun. Don't forget to swing for the fences. See ya!